in the ICT and tech world. We have, of course, heard about WorldCoin. We've heard about e-citizen breach, the KPA breach, different fraud, different AI risks that have been going around in the news, circling. And it's been discussed here already by several MPs on this bill. But I wanted to jump to another issue that I've been thinking about as well as I read through the bill. Madam Speaker, we also have the WEF fund right now, the Women Empowerment Fund, and it had stalled in its implementation, unfortunately, because of the issues and the small gaps that had not been thought about in terms of implementation of a digital platform in our current state as Kenya is today. Also, Madam Speaker, the spirit of this bill is, of course, good, and I agree with it. But unfortunately, apart from the spirit and soul of a bill, we also need to look at the meat and bones of it. We, of course, need progressive legislation. That's what we're here for in this House and across Parliament, because we want to take Kenya to not where it just is or stop it as it is, but to take it to where we want it to go. However, I believe that every cloud has a silver lining, and I wish to play the devil's advocate for just a few more of my minutes. Cybersecurity has been mentioned here as an issue, and it's a huge issue that needs to be addressed in this bill. What are the provisions for it? Are there even provisions that ring fence and enhance cybersecurity? Because digital information in the health bill will be absolutely, you cannot describe the measure of havoc that can be caused if there are breaches in this kind of legislation. Madam Speaker, where will data warehouses be located? Will it be within Kenya? Will it be outside, which will outsourced, like we have seen many other functions and systems and services be when looking at the digital and tech economy in Kenya? Next, I want to ask the House about the consideration of job loss. Many people will lose their jobs when this bill comes into effect and is enacted. However, I do not see a place where there is provision for what will we do for the secretaries, the receptionists, for the different nurses, for the admin staff that will, of course, have to go through a job loss or go through will have to live through the reality of losing their jobs and being able to feed their families if, of course, this bill goes through. Job loss has not been addressed adequately, in my view, Madam Speaker, and I wish that this bill would have done so. Also, I would have, in my opinion, loved to have seen a digital literacy bill go hand in hand with this bill because, Madam Speaker, as you know, Kenya, as much as we are ahead in terms of our region and Africa as well with literacy and the tech world, we are not yet close to being able to fathom the issues that will come about because of lack of digital literacy in this country. And I would have wished that a digital literacy bill would have come together with this particular bill so that we could have considered them together and been able to fill in gaps that would have come about. Madam Speaker, what I'm basically saying is that we should not put the cart before the horse. Accessibility has also not been addressed adequately. Madam Speaker, we have to think about internet connectivity. Are we ready in Kenya, seeing as though most of Kenyans are not actually on the internet? We see in Kenya that most of us do not have access to smart devices, which of course this bill will lay heavily on our citizens to be able to access and use and understand. We also need to address the design, development and delivery of the bill and all of the technology and services that we will have to be addressed therein, Madam Speaker. And we need to be able to include our citizens in all of these processes because we cannot have a bill, we cannot have a platform or a technology without having included.
You can give her 1 more minute to finish her sentence.
Speaker.
Mr. Clark.
Thank you very much, Speaker. Also, Madam Speaker, there's a report that shows that 98.1% of all digital platforms across the world, of the 1 million top platforms across the world, are not accessible to all its users. So how are we to address this 9.1% deficiency in this bill? Madam Speaker, affordability is also an issue. Like I say, many Kenyans are dealing with poverty, dealing with food, dealing with basic goods and services that they are lacking. How are we supposed to ensure that they will be able to afford going on the internet, having smart devices, and being able to access this digital health service? Acceptability is also an issue, Madam Speaker. You know us as Kenyans, unfortunately, it's like teaching old dogs new tricks. Many of our citizens, myself included, when something new comes along, we need more time. We need a lot of sensitization, a lot of education on how to use it safely, how to use it efficiently, and
Senator William Kipkemoi Kisang.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise to support this digital health bill. Madam Speaker, Kenya is way ahead in terms of technology. It's only that this particular field, the medical field, that looks like it's still behind in embracing technology. But when it comes to research, they're ahead in research. So I'm happy, Madam Speaker, that this particular bill has come to the House, and especially where we are going to have a national health information system that will be shared across the country by our doctors to share information to save lives. Madam Speaker, some members have said even in the morning and this afternoon that in case anybody is involved in an emergency and they require help, you don't need to have those small a card in your pocket to show what you are suffering from. Just with the keying in your ID number basically into the system, the doctor should be able to see what you've been ailing from, and they'll be able to help, Madam Speaker, in terms of emergencies, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, one of the issues that I believe this bill will help is in terms of cost. Madam Speaker, sometimes you can go from one doctor to another doctor and you'll be asked the same questions. You'll be told to take X-ray here, take an MRI here, instead of sharing what has already been taken earlier by a different facility, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, this basically will reduce the cost in terms of consultation, in terms of undertaking additional unnecessary tests, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, if you check, I know members have raised an issue on data security. I remember 2019, we passed a law on data protection, and already we have a data commissioner in place, and I'm happy that among the board members of this particular agency is the data commissioner, who will basically bring on board issues in terms of data privacy, data protection, and ensure the data controllers also and data processors ensure that our patients' data is secured. And there are very serious penalties in place in case there is a breach of data, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, this bill is a good bill. But it will also create opportunity. This is a new entity, and this particular new entity will create employment for people. It will generate employment, especially for those who have knowledge in IT, and it means there'll be a lot of capacity building, even for our medical personnel, in terms of digitization, in terms of ICT. Madam Speaker, I wish to support this particular bill and urge members that if there are issues that we need to amend, as it's been said, within 6 months or 7 months, we can come back and check where there are weaknesses, maybe in terms of cybersecurity protection and other issues, so that we can bring amendments, but we allow the bill to go on so that our people can enjoy and embrace this particular law and benefit from this particular law. Madam Speaker, when we were in Turkana 2 weeks ago on Senate Mashinani, we were able to visit Turkana County Referral Hospital, and the doctor told us he's really getting a lot of help from Moi Teaching and Rivera Hospital because they installed a medical system about 6 months ago, and they're able to consult the experts in Moi Teaching and Rivera Hospital, and the people of Turkana are benefiting from expertise as far as from Eldoret and even from KNH, Madam Speaker. So this is long overdue. I support it, Honorable Speaker.
Senator Sifuna Edwin.
Madam Speaker, I have noticed a very worrying pattern with the bills that have been coming from the legislative drafters in government offices. And this is a matter that we have raised previously when we were debating other bills that have come before us. The most recent one, of course, was the community health promoters that we dealt with in Turkana. Madam Speaker, this concern is that every time we see these bills, they are creating agencies that are going to oversee devolved functions. But if you look at the composition of that agency that is then created, it is very heavy on national government appointees. And I can see that pattern repeated in this particular bill, Madam Speaker. There is an agency created under Section 5 of this bill called the Digital Health Agency. Madam Speaker, if you go to Clause 8 of this bill, it then tells you who the directors or the board of directors is going to be composed of. And they have been enumerated there from Clause 8A to H. And I can count, Madam Speaker, that out of the 9 people who are supposed to be on this board, 6 are appointees of government, national government, to essentially oversee what is a devolved function. What is more worrying, Madam Speaker, that if you go through other clauses in the bill, you will notice this pattern being repeated. And for me, I honestly cannot sit here as a senator to allow even an inch of what is devolved to be taken away. And I can see that we are slowly by some of the legislation that is being introduced here, chipping away the functions of the county governments and planting them in national government agencies. If you look at Clause 7.2a, Madam Speaker, of that bill, it talks about management and control of the assets of that agency, an agency that is going to oversee devolution. But then there's a proviso to that particular section that says that if that national agency that is managing a devolved function requires to charge or dispose any immovable property, it can only be done with the prior approval of the National Assembly, not of the Senate, Madam Speaker. That tells you that that spirit of clawing back slowly at things that should essentially fall under the mandate of this Senate, under the mandate of the devolved units, is continuing. Madam Speaker, you will go to Clause 15 again. You will see that in establishing a framework for administration and management of the health system, the comprehensive integrated health information system, the agency is only required to consult, not with the governors, or the Council of Governors, or anybody else in devolution, not with the Senate. The clause speaks of the agency consulting with the Cabinet Secretary, again, an official of the national government. Madam Speaker, there is more problems that I have seen in this particular bill under Clause 17, where it sets out the main objectives of the system. If the main objectives of the system as per this act, one of them is to make sure that they facilitate data processing and use for informed decision making at all levels, including for resource allocation and management in the health sector. If indeed this is one of the jobs that these people, the agency is supposed to oversee, then if you are using it to determine resource allocation, the people with the resources under devolution are the county governors. If you don't involve them, how are they going to allocate those resources? Further, Madam Speaker, to demonstrate that point even further, under Clause 23, subclause 2, it says the agency shall provide health data to the Cabinet Secretary for relevant action. I have a problem with that. This information, health data, should be given to the primary executors of health services or health function, which is the devolved units, Madam Speaker. Finally, if you look at, there was one more issue that I wanted to raise. It has escaped me. Madam Speaker, under Clause 26, it gives even the Cabinet Secretary a role in establishment of county health data banks under 26(1)A. I do not believe that that is something that the county, the cabinet secretary should be involving themselves in. So what we are hoping, Madam Speaker, is that the spirit we saw in Turkana, that the majority side will allow members, in consultation with the minority side, to actually propose amendments, because we would want to end up with a law that actually lives to the spirit of devolution and making sure that there is purity in the execution of each function that has been given to the national government and to the county governments. So, Madam Speaker, I'm hoping that when we come to the committee of the whole, there will be
I think, honorable senators, we are done with the debating part of this bill, and I'll invite the mover of the bill to now respond.
Madam Speaker, I want to thank all our colleagues who have taken time to contribute to this bill. I've listened to their comments, many of them in their support, as is the nature of lawmaking. Mr. Speaker, I once had a seasoned legislator before I joined Parliament say that just as it is unpleasurable to watch sausage being made, the work of lawmaking also is not a very beautiful exercise. You will hardly ever agree on everything. There are many things that people view differently, but by and large, and I agree with the words of Senator Okongo Mogeni, a member for Health Committee, when he rose to move, he said this, in consideration of these bills, they should take a bipartisan manner, given the nature of the importance of the bill. And they have taken time to explain many of the concerns that members have on data protection, including the laws that have been laid therein. I think I listened to Senator Osotsi, and perhaps if he was here, I would have helped him appreciate better that in a particular law, the reason why we make law, Mr. Speaker, is that there is no one law which on its own is self-sufficient in as far as meeting or mitigating whatever undesired effects could come out of that law. What do I mean, Madam Speaker? That there are issues, for example, of how this data is to be protected. But you must remember that in the year 2019, in this same House, Madam Speaker, we passed the data protection laws, and on areas, on matters of protecting data that has been set out for a particular purpose, that is a superseding or overarching law in terms of providing for that. We don't have to put it in every law, because I hear him make that comment almost on every other bill that we pass here and say, oh, how is this data protected? And so on and so forth, Madam Speaker. There are many such instances that I could close. I could even close with the comments by Senator Sifuna, which I've listened to, about the composition of many of these agencies. Well, we could equally debate, Madam Speaker, and say it is something that we can improve and make better. When we were in Turkana, for example, I saw the proposal that came from members. But Senator Sifuna, you will have to appreciate the position that we find ourselves in as a Senate. If it was up to us alone, we would go the route that you're proposing. But this is a bicameral system of parliament. We have our colleagues on the other side who, each time, when we propose things that are even provided for in the Constitution, sometimes they find difficulty in. And you end up stagnating with very important legislative business, haggling and arguing over certain matters. The thing that you hope, Madam Speaker, and I want to tell you this, Senator Sifuna, I have served in boards, and sometimes when you send, you know, we must equally begin to demand, Sifuna, from COG, the quality of the people that they send to represent us in these boards as well. Because it's not about, it is important to have many, and this is not to make light of your point, but sometimes when you don't have that opportunity, then you'd rather send somebody whose mind from start to finish will be talking about how are the interests of devolution protected in this particular bill. But look at how COG sometimes nominates some of these people. I have seen boards make certain decisions and you wonder, what about the person who we gave the opportunities? Because many bills we pass in this house over the years and say COG shall send a representative, but somehow in the operations of those bodies, we don't see the change and the sense in which they appreciate the tenets and the dictates of devolution. So, Madam Speaker, I want to appreciate colleagues who have taken time. This is the third, Madam Speaker, of this legislation. Shortly, Madam Speaker, upon the conclusion of this, I will equally be moving on to the fourth of the bill, therefore culminating in an exercise that we began a few weeks ago of trying to give life to UHC, a call that we've had, and I mentioned this when we were in Turkana, I think since the third president of this republic, that have been trying to say, what is it that we are going to do to ensure that all Kenyans, Madam Speaker, enjoy good health care and quality health care. And therefore, Madam Speaker, under the principle of good over bad, because I remember when we were doing the new constitution, this present constitution, Mr. Speaker, those that were in the no-camp told us, there is a portion of it that I don't agree with it, therefore I buried the entire document. But those that had been in the struggle for many years trying to get Kenya a new constitution told us, we can live with it, don't worry. Once we get the many good fruits of this constitution, the rest will find ways. Of course, Madam Speaker, we bear testimony today seated as a house. This House of Senate is a creation of constitution. Devolution is a creation of this new constitution, Madam Speaker, and many other good things that you can enlist. And therefore, in the process of lawmaking, I want to convince you, my colleagues, that there is no given time that you will have a bill that will come to this House and you will say, 100% we agree on everything. People have different perspectives on things. But if the spirit, the letter, the intent, the content makes the lives of the people that you represent in this House better, then give it your stamp of approval and satisfaction. With those many remarks, Madam Speaker, I appreciate and I thank all our colleagues that have taken time and hope that we can progress to this bill. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you.
Sorry. Madam Speaker, understanding order 66.3. Madam Speaker, understanding order number 66.3, I beg to defer the putting of a question on this until to nominate later on today, Madam Speaker, because there is a bill which is the order paper that we want to consider equally. If we can move on with it, then we'll put the question jointly together at the end of transacting this business, Madam Speaker. It can make our work easier, if you so agree.
That is in order. Majority Leader, so next order.
Order number 14, the Social Health Insurance Bill, National Assembly Bills number 58 of 2023, second reading.
I invite the Majority Leader to move this bill.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I beg to move that the Social Health Insurance National Assembly Bill number 58 of 2023 be now read a second time. Madam Speaker, this bill was published on the 11th of September 2023 and passed by the National Assembly on the 27th of September 2023. Thereafter, the bill was referred to the Senate for consideration. The principal object, Madam Speaker, of this particular bill is to put in place a legislative framework to regulate the provision of social health insurance, Madam Speaker, and promote the implementation of UHC and ensure that all Kenyans have access to affordable and comprehensive quality healthcare service. I listened to somebody speak from the minority side. I don't think Senator Sifuna was there then. But they reminded us that even in the manifesto of our colleagues from Azimio, they had something that was referred to as Baba Care, which was akin to the organs that we have been trying to pursue the last few weeks. Madam Speaker, when I rose to move the first of the four bills in Turkana, at the Turkana County Assembly, I did mention that overall, of these four bills, Madam Speaker, each serves a distinct purpose. But the underlying principle is that we want to move as a country from being reactive in how we manage healthcare to being proactive, Madam Speaker, by providing additional resources to preventive medicine, Madam Speaker, ensuring that we set in place systems and early warning mechanisms that can help us as a country respond and react early to the challenges of disease and healthcare, so that you have healthier citizens, Madam Speaker, that live more fruitful and better lives, Madam Speaker, than having to pursue it in the way and in the means that we have done the last 60 years, Madam Speaker, where we wait until you become sick. By the time you go to hospital, Madam Speaker, some of the ailments or the challenges that you're facing that will easily have been prevented if we had early detections and warning, Madam Speaker, we find ways of containing it. As it is right now, Madam Speaker, we as a country continue to spend colossal amounts of money treating Kenyans. And you know, one of the biggest challenges that members in this House know without a fail, on a single day, unless you are an animal from another planet, you cannot be a leader in this country and wake up at 6 and by 8 o'clock, you don't have a message in your phone from a Kenyan trying to reach out to you and saying, oh, I went to this hospital, this is what they want, I cannot afford, or we lost a relative and did this or the other. Therefore, over and above the very good intentions of this bill, it is even in our best of interest as leaders and those that are elites in society that we make this enabling legislation that provides a national social health insurance, Madam Speaker, that will ensure that quality health care is affordable to those at the lowest of the pyramid. This is about a shared responsibility and a shared burden, Madam Speaker, so that people like you and I who earn better, Madam Speaker, can pay more, feel the pain slightly, but ensure that while I am deducted or earn or pay more for it, Madam Speaker, millions of the people that I represent in this House are brought onto the national health system, Madam Speaker, and therefore they are able to take care of themselves. Remember, Madam Speaker, that part of the laws that we passed in Turkana, number one, on the community health volunteers or promoters, Madam Speaker, people that will be going around people's homes, training them, looking after them, teaching them healthy habits, how to live their lives and ensure that they have long, fruitful, healthy lives. We have already passed the enabling legislation for that as a House, Madam Speaker. Immediately after that, we said because many of our local hospitals at the local level will be generating sufficient resources because many people will be sent, we must find ways, because this is part of the spirit of ensuring that devolution succeeds. In the comments that we've just made a few minutes ago, we will tie and ensure that those resources are tied to that same dispensary or health center or level 3 or level 4 hospital. We did that under the primary health care bill. This afternoon, we have just come from debating, Madam Speaker, the digital health bill, ensuring that your data is properly captured. We are able to analyze you and know which part of the country or region, Madam Speaker, suffers from what particular disease and whatever challenges, and deploying the proper resources in terms of health facilities to them. This now, Madam Speaker, is the last of the 4 bills, ensuring, because at the end of the day, somebody must pay, Madam Speaker, and because we are not all the same, we are not equally blessed as a country, but we are a country that believes in equity. We all went to the campaigns and pledged that we shall ensure that we build a nation and a society where even those that are not endowed with much resource, Madam Speaker, feel proud and part and parcel to be part of this society, Madam Speaker. And that is part of the organs and the tenets that are being pushed by this bill. Having a national, having a social health insurance that ensures that the villagers that wake up so early to vote for us and find us representing them in this House, Madam Speaker, have some form of comfort and cover. And this is the enabling legislation that is coming onto it. Therefore, we are providing a safety net, Madam Speaker, against the financial burden of medical expenses. And you know, Madam Speaker, it is a fact that is proven, and all of you know it in this House, Madam Speaker, that many families are just one illness away from poverty. That all it takes sometimes to knock people from living a normal, decent life where they are able to fend for themselves is just a member of their family to fall ill, Madam Speaker, because of how our healthcare system is organized. And that is why every president and presidential candidate that has participated in the last 4 or 5 presidential elections in this country, Madam Speaker, from 2002, 2007, 2013, 2017, 2022, has been pledging UHC, Madam Speaker, because people appreciate and they know that it is important for us as a nation, Madam Speaker, to build a different healthcare system separate from what we have. What we have, Madam Speaker, is a capitalist healthcare system where it is only accessible to those that can pay, Madam Speaker. And we cannot continue that way. You need, Madam Speaker, to build and give enabling conditions for UHC as has been provided in this bill, Madam Speaker, so that you provide a safety net for all Kenyans and Kenyans can feel proud to be part and parcel of us. Furthermore, Madam Speaker, this social health insurance, it promotes fairness and social cohesion by redistributing the financial burden across the different income groups, a point that I've so ably explained, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, as we have witnessed with the National Health Insurance Fund, and I have seen, and part of what I'll be responding to later, Madam Speaker, a petition going around about NHIF, Madam Speaker, what you need to do. There are people that will lose jobs, and so on and so forth, Madam Speaker. But we all appreciate that NHIF has presently constituted needs re-engineering. As it is a bedrock of impunity and corruption. And it is not sustainable. It is not financially viable, despite all the enormous resources that they collect. All other health insurances are flourishing and making money. But the one that has the most customers, because a premium buyer is a customer, just like in all these other health insurance service providers, they cannot turn a profit because of so many inefficiencies that are inbuilt therein. And therefore, issues of fraud, misuse of the funds, misreporting, paying other clinics earlier than the rest. There was just a whole idea about NHIF as it is, Madam Speaker, needs reorganization. And therefore, I've seen in the transitional clauses of the bill, Madam Speaker, how the bill intends to request the staffers that are served therein to apply. Go through a vetting. If you know for sure that there is absolutely nothing to fear, there is nothing that you have done, I don't think there will be prejudice on anyone to say that I know I have served this institution well, I have given the best of my abilities, allow me to serve in this new institution, and I don't think there will be trouble for it. Of course, Madam Speaker, even retired civil servants, and I saw people circulating a petition from retired civil servants who are saying, oh, we used to have a special package for ourselves, which we are now going to lose, therefore many of us are going to die. First of all, Madam Speaker, I find it to be a very selfish petition. Sorry to say that to the retired civil servants that are watching it. We are trying to put in place a social health insurance that brings in place all the 50 million Kenyans. But for you, the only concern that you have is, what about me? How can I be safe? Yet, first of all, we have paid you your entire adult working life. Ensure that you have good health care at the expense of all these other Kenyans, including the very poor villagers that are in the far-flung villages of this country, from Vanga all the way to Turkana, where we are. They all contribute to you as a civil servant living well when you're in office. When you're in retirement, you still want to tell them that at a time like this, when you are trying to ensure that every Kenyan now is put, because this bill, there is nowhere that excludes anyone, including those retired civil servants. But the problem that they have, Madam Speaker, is that they are telling us, let it be put in writing. I want to be sure myself that I'll be part and parcel. Not thinking about the people that have been paying taxes for them to enjoy a good life in their productive years, and they want the same people to still pay for them in their retirement. I don't think that is right, Madam Speaker. However, misinformed as their petition Madam Speaker, I want to inform them for the record that the social health insurance that is being provided here covers every Kenyan up to the age of 100 years. So unless we have retired civil servants who are 101, and if they're there, we're willing to listen to them and perhaps have a discussion with them. But every other Kenyan will be covered by the provisions of this bill. What we are not willing to do, and what I want to plead with you, my colleagues, is that don't create special groups for any kind of Kenyans. I thought we all went to the campaigns and promised and said, let's find ways of making life bearable for every Kenyan. Therefore, Madam Speaker, it is on that platform that we are moving and proposing to the House that we move and change the administrative inefficiencies and lack of transparency that have hindered the fund's inefficiencies and effectiveness, Madam Speaker, by creating this new body. Madam Speaker, the rest of the bill, of course, is about part one that provides the purpose and objects, creating this social health authority that will ensure the standards of course. Did you know, Senator Sifuna, I don't know if you know this, that if you went with your NHIF card and had a scan at Mbagathi Hospital, that there are clinics within the same proximity that will charge you double the amount for that same scan. And chances are, because of these same inefficiencies that I'm talking about, those private hospitals will be paid faster than Mbagathi Level 5 Hospital, despite the fact that they are earning more. Mbagathi Level 5 may wait even maybe for up to 1 year before NHIF compensates them. That is why we are setting up this authority, the Social Health Authority, so that you standardize. It will now not be possible to charge for the same procedure, whether you do it in a private hospital or you do it in a hospital that of a similar standard in the private sector. NHIF, or rather the Social Health Authority, will not give the approval for anything to be charged extra, because we are making one large contribution as a country to ensure that we carry and share the burden. Therefore, Madam Speaker, just as a last point, Part 5 of the bill is extremely important. I have personally treated a relative when they face chronic illness, and I know how many other families have to carry that burden and how difficult it is, Madam Speaker, for those, either they're in retirement or for one reason or the other, who are faced with critical or emergency chronic diseases, Madam Speaker. And you know, the previous provisions of NHIF as put together did not provide mechanisms through which such emergencies can be created. Part 5 of the bill creates a fund now that, so long as these Kenyans that are covered under this provision, and it's for all of them, this pool of resources will be deployed to handle those emergencies, Madam Speaker, and ensure that as a family, you don't get to the point where you sell basically everything that you have and lose out eventually, because sometimes, even after selling all those things, there's no guarantee that your relative or family member, Madam Speaker, will survive that particular disease. And therefore, this fund is being created to handle such situations. Therefore, Madam Speaker, there are many other very productive provisions, Part 6, on the claims management, and so on and so forth. Therefore, I want to state that this bill is an instrument for attainment of UHC, and I urge honorable senators to support this important bill, whose passage will ensure accessible, affordable, and quality healthcare for all Kenyans. I repeat, all Kenyans. So long as you are Kenyan, you are part and parcel of those that are covered under this particular bill, Madam Speaker. And don't accept to be misled by any other person that is trying to claim otherwise. Therefore, Madam Speaker, with those very many remarks, I beg to move and request Senator, the chairperson of the Health Committee, Senator Jackson Mandago, to second. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Mandago, please.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker and Honorable Majority Leader. First and foremost, I wish to second this bill, Madam Speaker. And this bill, Madam Speaker, has been well elaborated by Majority Leader. But Madam Speaker, allow me in my seconding to make a few remarks and concerns that have been raised, and I think it's because of the information that probably has not gone out well to the members of the public and citizens of this country, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, this bill seeks to ensure that every Kenyan in any part of this country is able to access health care, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, as the government strives to roll out UHC, we must create a situation that enables that UHC to be rolled out by making sure that all the function and attendant facilities that go with the rolling out of UHC are in place. Honorable Speaker, this bill seeks first to make sure that there is sufficient funding for us to be able to roll out the UHC, create an enabling environment in the management of those funds, Honorable Speaker. And thirdly, Honorable Speaker, this bill seeks to make sure that no Kenyan is excluded from accessing health services in any public institution, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, in the past, And I think this is where we want to communicate to the public and generally to all of us that the difference between the new bill and the new authority and the new social health insurance that is going to be established is that every Kenyan is going to access health services at the package that has been prepared. But, Honorable Speaker, realizing that most Kenyans, when they are diagnosed with chronic diseases, when they are diagnosed with diseases that are costly, Honorable Speaker, the insurance companies, the private insurance companies, and even NHIF, the current NHIF, Honorable Speaker, to some extent, could not cover. What this is now providing for is to ensure that from the social health insurance fund, the access is guaranteed, where a citizen who exhausts their social insurance cover will then graduate to the next level provided for under the chronic illness fund, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, once a Kenyan is registered under the social health insurance fund, they then automatically qualify to access treatment for the chronic diseases under the chronic fund without being asked to top up any funds. And I think those who are asking whether there are enhancements, why we don't have enhancements in this bill. Enhancements that we have had in the past, Honorable Speaker, was actually creating classes of citizens in this country, where those who are earning, where those who have income, where those who are being paid by government would enhance the services they are going to access by paying additional premium. Social health insurance is making sure with no additional premiums, you are able to access the health services that you require. And therefore, I want to assure those who are retired, whether in public servants or in private sector, I want to assure those who are elderly in the society that for the first time, you will have a health care that will take care of you until probably, Honorable Speaker, mambo ni matatu ya tatu ukisafiri. For the first time, you are guaranteed as a Kenyan citizen that once you are a contributor, once you are registered, you will access the primary healthcare services from all the facilities. And should you be diagnosed with any disease that is lifelong, chronic fund, health fund will take care of that and will make sure you receive the treatment through the period where you need to access treatment, Honorable Speaker. And therefore, I want to ask and plead with my colleagues that we support and pass this bill so that we can begin the rollout of UHC. With those few remarks, Honorable Speaker, I beg to second.
Thank you, Honorable Senator. Honorable Senators, I propose the question that the Social Health Insurance Bill, National Assembly Bill number 58 of 2023, be now read a second time. What's your point of order, Senator Sige?
Madam Speaker, I would like to raise a point of order, understanding order 1113, to limit the debate on this motion to a maximum of 5 minutes per member. Senator Cherargei.
Senator Cherargei, have you seconded? I did not see that. Seconded. Honorable Senators, I propose the question that the debate on the Social Insurance Bill, National Assembly Bill number 58 of 2023, be limited to 5 minutes for each senator while contributing. I put the question that the debate on the Social Insurance Bill, National Assembly Bill number 58 of 2023, be limited to 5 minutes for each senator while contributing. And I make a determination that this matter does not affect the counties. Sorry. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as are of contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Each senator will not go beyond the 5 minutes. So, Senator Cherarike.
Madam Speaker, thank you for this opportunity. Mine is to support the Social Health Insurance Bill number 58 of 2023, National Assembly, Madam Speaker. From the onset, I want to say this bill is one of the enablers of universal health coverage, Madam Speaker, including what we just concluded in the discussion. Madam Speaker, I'm happy because this bill now gives opportunity each and every Kenyans to receive insurance cover. I know for very long, Madam Speaker, insurance cover has been the privilege of the chosen few. But what we are doing is that every Kenyan who is born at the commencement of this bill, Madam Speaker, they will have opportunity to be registered and be part of the insurance cover, medical insurance cover. Madam Speaker, as you have heard, every family in this country is one illness away from poverty. And therefore, this is one of the bottom-up economic model, the better model that the President is espousing. Number two, Madam Speaker, you have seen that the contribution, Madam Speaker, towards this medical scheme, Madam Speaker, is based on the ability of each and every member. You know, as at the moment, the NHIF, everybody used to pay the equal amount, Madam Speaker. But now we are using pro rata. The more you earn, the more you contribute. The less you earn, and this is the cushion that the President and the government has espoused, that many Kenyans were uncomfortable with the high contribution rates to the NHIF, Madam Speaker. But at this point now, Madam Speaker, every Kenyan will pay according to their ability, Madam Speaker. The third point I want to make in quick succession is that I'm happy there is a specific provision to cover chronic and critical illnesses fund, the emergency chronic and critical illnesses fund. Madam Speaker, our people are being ravaged by chronic diseases like cancer. Madam Speaker, I'm happy. Whenever you go to funerals, to arambes of cancer victims, Madam Speaker, and other chronic illnesses, the clarion call by Wananchi, the ordinary Wanjiku, Madam Speaker, has been to what is NHIF, what is Social Security Insurance doing, Madam Speaker, to ensure Kenyans who, because you know, treating cancer and other chronic diseases, Madam Speaker, is very expensive. You lose a life and you lose property, Madam Speaker, and that family goes back to poverty. So, Madam Speaker, on the issue of chronic illnesses and critical illnesses fund, I support 100%, Madam Speaker, and it will assist in curing, Madam Speaker. I don't know, and I hope this fund at some point, when it comes back, we should invest also on research, because some regions, Madam Speaker, normally have high cancer cases than other areas. Madam Speaker, number two, I want to agree that some employers, Madam Speaker, have been doing statutory deductions, but not remitting to the social insurance, Madam Speaker. I'm happy. They will never run away. And most of the culprits, Madam Speaker, you know, you was truly deputized as one of the powerful committees in this House called Public Accounts. Most of the culprits, Madam Speaker, are counties, where they do statutory deductions, including the contribution to social insurance of health, Madam Speaker, and they don't remit. I'm happy the cure is in this law, Madam Speaker, and it is exciting. Even any employer, the writing is on the wall, mene tekel, Madam Speaker, that anybody who takes money through statutory deduction, they must remit, Madam Speaker. And I'm happy the penalties have been enhanced. And even, Madam Speaker, we should propose, you and me are lawyers, should propose even lifting of the veil of the owners of those hospitals. Madam Speaker, the fifth point is on the frontline and claims. Madam Speaker, you heard there was an hospital that was being owned by NHIF almost 2 billion. Yet we know they have not hired that, Madam Speaker. I'm happy the claim fund has been put in place, Madam Speaker. Any right-thinking Kenya, in conclusion, Madam Speaker, this is the bill of the hustlers. The hustlers will receive this redemption after today, Madam Speaker. This is what the President has been espousing on better. It is called bottom-up economic model, Madam Speaker. Yes. Every hustler today should celebrate because the freedom is here with us, where they can walk to a medical health center somewhere in Mosoriot, somewhere in Kipteren, Madam Speaker, somewhere in Marsabit, somewhere in Chimoi, Luanda and other areas, Madam Speaker, and be able to receive medical care, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, finally, on the issue of employees of NHIF, they should be free. They should be free, Madam Speaker, to subject themselves to the process. No one is being fired. I thank you, Madam Speaker, and I support.
Honorable Senators, I have a communication from the Chair. Honorable Senators, in the public gallery, we have 53 pupils accompanied by 2 teachers from Melelu Primary School, Narok County, who are in the Senate on an education tour. In our usual tradition of receiving and welcoming visitors to Parliament, I extend a warm welcome to them, and on behalf of Senate and on my own behalf, wish them a fruitful visit. Thank you. And I want to request Senator Lelegwe to welcome them.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I want to take this time to join you and our colleagues to welcome pupils and teachers from Narok County to the Senate. You are welcome to the Senate. This is the second, the upper house of Parliament, and I want to invite you to learn what we do here in Senate. Thank you so much, and welcome again. Thank you. Madam Speaker, I want to move a motion pursuant to Standing Order 34, 4A, and therefore I beg to move that the Senate resolves to extend its sittings until conclusion of business listed at orders number 13, 14, and 15 in today's order paper until the conclusion of all business listed in today's order paper. Thank you. And I request Senator Chute to second.
Madam Speaker,
Senator Chute, please.
thank you, Madam Speaker. I beg to second. Thank you.
Honorable Senators, I propose the question that pursuant to Standing Order 34-4A, that the Senate extends its sitting until conclusion of the business listed at orders number 13, 14, and 15. Honorable Senators, I put the question that pursuant to Standing Order 34-4A, that the Senate extends its sitting until conclusion of business listed at orders 13, 14, and 15. As many as are of that opinion say aye. Aye. As many as are of contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it. Senator Sigei, Wakili.
I thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to also rise to support this bill. And, Madam Speaker, a healthy nation is a wealthy nation. The bill speaks to the wealthy of this nation by making sure that it supports the health of the people that lives within this particular country. Madam Speaker, I will, because of time, go straight to the very specific aspects of the bill that I must comment on. And clause number 3, Madam Speaker, lays out the objectives of this particular bill. And, Madam Speaker, it seeks to improve the healthcare of the management of the healthcare resources of the country. And by so doing, it takes us back to an appreciation of the fact that previously, and even as we speak right now, we have had health insurances which are run by private sectors thriving, whereas those run by the government have had challenges, which it is all over in appreciation of the need to make sure that we transform this particular health sector in order to make sure that our people are supported by the government. And this, Madam Speaker, is a realization of the commitment that the Kenya Kwanza government made in the course of its seeking to be put into power by the people of Kenya. And that particular objective under Section 3A, seeking to realign the healthcare systems, processes and programs for purposes of immediate response to the needs of the people and ensure that there is an element of reliability and sustainability of the healthcare in this country is a very, very important aspect that should we pass this bill, I believe, Madam Speaker, we will be speaking to the millions of Kenyans who are struggling to sustain themselves by the demands of the health and the cost of the medical demands that all of us at any given time in our lives seeks to get. Madam Speaker, the desire or the provision of the bill to ensure that it pools resources and risks which are based on principles of solidarity, equity, and efficiency is a guarantee to the people of Kenya that the bill, once it's passed into law, will ensure that there is access to healthcare and services to all Kenyans, irrespective of their economic, social, or otherwise political status. Madam Speaker, that is one core aspect of this bill that we must be encouraged to support in order to make sure that we give Kenyans part of the promise that was made. I will, Madam Speaker, straight go into the part 4 of the bill that seeks to establish the Social Health Insurance Fund. This is under provisions of Section 25, 1, 2, and of very key importance is the provision that monies which will be placed into this particular fund comprise monies appropriated by the National Assembly for the vulnerable and the indigent people. Madam Speaker, this is one of those which we are saying healthcare is supposed to be available to each and every Kenyan, irrespective of your economic status. Whereas we are talking about various classes in the current available health insurance fund or health sector, this particular bill, if and when it's passed, will ensure that it is every Kenyan who, as long as he or she has registered, can benefit from the provisions of the fund that is provided and established under the provisions of Section 25B of the bill. Part 5, Madam Speaker, provides for the establishment of an emergency chronic and critical illness fund. This is one of those very key provisions, and I must commend the government and also the mover of this motion for making sure that we honor and give priority by establishing a very specific fund for this particular group of people. Under 28A, it is specifically provided that this fund will be available after the depletion of the social health insurance cover. This, Madam Speaker, is a top-up to the provisions, or rather to the entitlements that you get by mere fact of being a beneficiary of the fund, whereas you are under a condition that is chronic.
Time up. Senator Edwin Sifuna.
Madam Speaker, allow me to begin with some things that have been said on this floor, first by my colleague Senator Cherargei. If you look at the first schedule of this bill, Madam Speaker, and I want to read it word for word so that nobody accuses me of bringing in things that are not here. They are saying that the current staff of NHIF, Madam Speaker, that they are eligible to apply for the positions advertised by the authority and may be considered for appointment where they are suitably qualified for the positions advertised. Now, Madam Speaker, you know there is a depletion of trust in this country. If people are already working for an organization, they were vetted, and they are qualified, why would you subject them to a re-application process, Madam Speaker? This is what is causing jitters within NHIF. These people, if they were competitively recruited, should just be automatically absorbed into the new fund, Madam Speaker. Because some of us get very jittery around recruitment processes under this government, because we've been told of the story of shareholding. Madam Speaker, many of us are not shareholders in this government. We've been told we cannot be given positions. What happens to the non-shareholders who applied and are working for NHIF in the event that they meet this, the person who has been, what is it called, auditing shareholding of people during the recruitment? So what we're saying, Madam Speaker, it should be clear that the people who are working for NHIF now, having been recruited and they know they are qualified, should automatically be absorbed into this fund. Let me proceed by saying, Madam Speaker, the second concern, and I heard the majority leader speak about the people who are elderly and have retired. Those people are not saying that the bill does not take care of them. They are saying they need some specificity. That in fact, when you are above the age of 65, even though you are eligible to get, say, private insurance, we know because the prevalence of chronic and terminal diseases amongst that age group, from 65 to 100, many of the private medical insurance do not like to insure this age group, and most of the time, the premiums are very high. I know that because my parents are in that category, and the premiums are extremely high, Madam Speaker. But I want to say that I confirm here that I support the establishment. Madam Speaker, I did not interrupt Senator Cherargei. I don't know why he wants to interrupt me.
Let's hear what the point of order is.
Mr. Speaker, and you need to protect me from Senator Abbas. Madam Speaker, sorry, understanding order 105, responsibility statement of fact, is it in order for the Nairobi Senator and my senior brother, Senator Edwin Sifuna, to indicate that this country is a shareholding country, Madam Speaker, and yet this is a foreign country? Is it in order for him to cast aspersions as per standing order number 105? And even further creating jitters about the transition period under NHIF, Madam Speaker, is it in order?
Senator Sifuna, you can clarify about the shareholding, about the debating on the category of the elderly. He is within his rights to debate what he thinks about that.
Madam Speaker, it is a matter of public record that somebody as senior as the Deputy President of this Republic has said it openly, that the government that is running this country is a private company with shareholding, and that if you do not have shares or you have minimal shares, you get nothing. Madam Speaker, allow me to proceed, because these are matters of public record that are even known, and we should take judicial notice of them. Madam Speaker, the second concern that I had is with regards to benefits.
Senator Sifuna, Senator Cherargei, are you okay with the response that has been given?
Okay.
But my job here is not to make him okay, Madam Speaker. This is a matter of public record that this House has taken judicial notice.
Senator Sifuna, you were to clarify. I asked you to clarify.
Madam Speaker, you know, Senator Sifuna is a practitioner of law. Kenya is not a private company, it's not a shareholding company. Is it in order, Madam Speaker? Those ones you can say in public rallies and funerals. Madam Speaker, this is a house of records, and the President himself had said, even if it is judicial notice in Siaya, that each and every Kenyan will be served by government regardless of how they voted. Is it in order for Senator Sifuna to bring statements that are made in baby showers and funerals to the floor of the House?
Senator Sifuna.
Madam Speaker, I don't know what about me looks like somebody who attends baby showers, but let me say this, you're wasting my time. Madam Speaker, the most critical concern I have, and I hope my time has been posed under Section 31. Madam Speaker, if you read the language of the benefits under Section 31 and 32, it appears that there's going to be different categories of packages that people are entitled to based on the premium they are paying. Now, the problem that I have, number one, this Act does not disclose to us what tariffs are going to be applied to Kenyans in this particular new health scheme. We have not been told if it is going to be 2,000 shillings or 3,000 shillings, as opposed to the current situation where we know everybody pays the same amount of money. There is no clarity here, and it is being left to the Cabinet Secretary to set that tariff. And the Act says that every beneficiary shall be entitled to an essential health care benefits package. That is like what everybody is going to be entitled to. Is supposed to be a base package. We have not been told about the other packages. There's going to be a premium package for dynasties, and I'm sure this essential healthcare benefits package is for the hustlers. So let them be more clear, Madam Speaker, about the benefits. We don't want to be sold hope, and then we are told, no, your contribution only entitles you to this, what are called essential healthcare benefits. If you want anything else, you have to add money. We want that clarity in the packages, and we want the clarity in the contributions. It cannot be left to the whims of the Cabinet Secretary. Madam Speaker, I want to finish by saying that I am very happy with one provision here on the establishment of an emergency fund. As SG of ODM, as a member of Azimio, we did promise that we were going to implement, if we got government, the provision in the Constitution that entitles everybody to emergency health care. We have seen cases of people dying in ambulances here in Nairobi because the hospital that you've been taken to will not admit you until they know who's going to pay for that admission, Madam Speaker. So this is something that I would support, the Emergency Chronic and Critical Illness Fund, and this money is going to be able to go to guarantee that the cost of emergency treatment, if you find yourself in an accident somewhere, maybe people don't even recognize you. You might have your premium insurance, private insurance, but people do not recognize you, or you are driving alone, you are unable to retrieve your card. They should be guaranteed that every person who's taken to any hospital in the country under emergency circumstances will receive.
Senator Abbas Sheikh Mohammed.
Honorable Speaker, thank you for giving the opportunity. Honorable Speaker, I think the social health insurance is actually an appropriate insurance for Kenyans for health cover. And this replaces actually the old NHIF. As you're aware, in the past, NHIF actually has been giving health covers to this country, but there has been a lot of abuse in provision of services, payments, and there was a lot of cartels involved in these things. Having said that, the current social health services, hopefully, as it is said in the bill, will have a lot of check and balances to minimize any abuses of the service of the health insurance. Honorable Speaker, actually, primary health care is a very important facility for Kenyans. Actually, most of the Kenyans cannot afford to pay for the premiums that are given by the social, by insurances, especially the private insurances. And the Kenyans, I think, the social health insurance now becomes a safety measure for the Kenyans, so that at least they can be able to access appropriate health services. However, there are two concerns. One is actually, as said by Senator Sifuna, the bill says that the current staff will be retired, or they will be added, or they retire, or be moved to other ministries. I think this is going to be very unfair to the existing staff. They have built enough capacity. They have enough knowledge. I think the best thing is to vet them, and if there's any anomalies with the existing staff, then they should be vetted. They should not just be sacked or be sent away to home. Though it has been said that the recruitment should be done by the current authority will do this own recruitment, recruit its own staff. I think these are also the same. These are also Kenyans, and they have the right to be employed, and they should be given the first priority. Two, Honorable Speaker, as you're aware, and I was hearing the majority leader was saying that this covers everybody. What happens in Kenya is that Kenyans that are above 65 years are really having a lot of challenges. Most of the insurances don't give them covers. They are subjected to a lot of examinations, and most of them don't even qualify because of their age. They are Kenyans who have served this country in their lifetime, up to the time they attained 60 years old. And I think in the past, there was a special case for those kind of cadres. They have associations like the Kenya Association of Retired Officers, which was giving them at least, it's an association that was helping. And with the negotiations through the NHIF, they were able to access cover, and actually that actually helped so many Kenyans who cannot afford and their families. And I think this thing has been overlooked. Two, the school-going children used to have covers, free cover. This has not been settled anywhere. So I think there are a lot of gaps that we need to at least to discuss more, so at least these people are not being left out, because the young children going to school are very important to this, the next generation. The old age actually have served this country. Members of parliament even, some of us here, were beneficiaries of that cover through what we call the former parliamentarians association. And therefore, I wish to ask the mover to look into this issue, so that we can be able to save the old age Kenyans who have served this country dedicated for 60 years. And our children who are growing up, so that at least they can have a better care of health. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Senator Rachel Julius Murgo.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to also raise my voice along with my colleagues. Social health insurance or coverage is something that is really basic and goes in handy to help situations that would not be helped, and goes along with the bottom-up philosophy of our government now. And therefore, this will target the very poor people that cannot afford the other coverages otherwise, because the other coverages become very expensive, and therefore the poor people that are living in poverty and deploring situations that do not have money muscle will benefit from this. And then also will help the elderly, as many have expressed, because the elderly are in most cases in dwindling source of money strength or economical situations, and therefore this kind of insurance, basic or social, will really help them to give them ability to be able to purchase drugs, to be able to go to hospitals that can be affordable to them, and then also will help the vulnerable, like children of the poor that need medical attention. This kind of coverage will really help them because they cannot really be able to afford to go to the other health facilities and settings that are there. And then it will also be able to spread job opportunities to the real rural, so that those who are in real rural can be able to have health attention and help from nurses and so on. And then it will also mean that it will be a healthy nation, because when the bottom of the pyramid is helped, it actually covers the whole nation, and therefore a nation that is healthy and able to work hard and be economically strong. So this insurance is very suitable for a nation such as ours. I support.
Senator Margaret Kamar.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to join my colleagues in strongly supporting the social health insurance bill. Madam Speaker, because of time, I'll go straight to part 5, the Emergency Chronic and Critical Illness Fund. Madam Speaker, when this bill is passed and ascended to, this is going to be the biggest benefit as far as I can see. There are people who have suffered chronic diseases like kidney diseases, people who have had transplants, who have to have lifelong treatments, have suffered. we know families that sometimes skip medication. It's been a disaster, Madam Speaker. So this is the best benefit to me, and I really want to laud the framers of this bill because of this very important proposal. The other thing, Madam Speaker, is the emergency fund. It is very sad to live in a country where on emergency, an hospital actually rejects you. You are already bleeding because you have been found on a road having been knocked by a motorbike, and you cannot go in because there is no money. And we know this because a lot of people have been turned away by hospitals. So the creation of a fund that is national in nature, the creation of a fund that we can call our own fund, is a very important creation in this bill. So, Madam Speaker, I support everything in this bill, and to note that finally we have a solution for the chronic illnesses that our people have suffered. People have died prematurely because of lack of support when they have undergone this kind of, when they have had this kind of illnesses, and this is going to be a thing of the past. We look forward to this bill being ascended to. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I support.
Senator Danson Mungatana.
Asante Madam Speaker kwa kunipa nafasi, na mimi nitasema matatu haraka kwa sababu ya muda. Ya kwanza, Mama Speaker, Madam Speaker, I can't be heard. Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker. Speaker mwenyewe hasikii. I want to be protected, Madam Speaker.
Senator Mungatana, be heard in silence, please. Consult in low tones.
Yes, Madam Speaker, nilikuwa nasema jambo la kwanza ni kusema ya kwamba ile kuambia watu wa NHIF waombe kazi mara ya pili, kipengele hicho, Bwana Speaker, mimi ninakiunga mkono kabisa. Kama wao wako qualified, waombe kazi. Na tena imeandikwa hapa kama hawatapata hizo nafasi, wako na nafasi ya kuomba retirement amba wapelekwe kwa nafasi zingine za serikali. Kile kitu muhimu nataka kusema ni kwamba saa hii NHIF vile ilivyo, Bwana Speaker, imetudhulumu sana sisi watu wa kutoka county za kando. County kama Tana River, Madam Speaker, utakuta watu ni wachache sana ambao wameandikwa kwa NHIF. Kwa hivyo wacha hii NHIF ivunjwe na hii mamlaka mpya iandike watu kutoka kwa county zote. Hivi ilivyo ni kama NHIF ni jopo la watu wa Nairobi peke yake. Kwa hivyo wacha hii ivunjwe, watu waandikwe wakitoka county zote, kwa sababu hii ni bima ya watu wote wa county zote. Kwa hivyo tunaomba ivunjwe aswa hiyo NHIF, tupate nafasi na sisi watu kutoka Tana River tuandikwe kwa hiyo NHIF. Ya pili, Bwana Speaker, Madam Speaker, imesemekana hapa ya kwamba hii jopo mpya ambayo inatengenezwa, hii mamlaka mpya, itakuwa na nafasi ya kutoa kuandikisha watu wapya kutoka sehemu mbalimbali watoe hizo huduma za afya. Bwana Speaker, tunataka watu wakienda kutafuta watu, wakija Tana River, waangalie wale ambao tayari wanasaidia watu. Madam Speaker, pale chini kuna watu ambao wanasaidia watu sana, na wao ni nurses, wamefungua vituo vyao vidogo, lakini unakuta NHIF hawawaandikishi hawa. Madaktari tu wa kawaida wamefungua vituo vidogo, machief clinical officers hawaandikishwi. Sasa inakuwa kwamba vituo vikubwa kutoka Nairobi ndio vinapeleka branches Tana River na vinanyima watu wa afya kutoa nafasi kwa wafanyabiashara ambao wako na nafasi ya kusaidia watu wetu. Kwa hivyo mimi naunga mkono sana ya kwamba hawa wapewe nafasi ya kuandikisha watu wapya ambao watatoa huduma za afya, na waangalie wale ambao tayari wanasaidia wananchi huko chini. Ya mwisho, Bwana Spika, mimi nilikuwa naomba kipengele kimoja kiingizwe hapa, ya kwamba wafanyikazi wa serikali baada ya kupitisha ile sheria ya digital, wabunge, maseneta, wakubwa wa serikali, kupitishwa kipengele kipya hapa kiseme wasipewe nafasi ya kwenda kwa private hospitals. Wote sasa tuwe tunaenda huko kwa public hospitals, kwa sababu tukifanya namna hiyo ndio tutazijenga hizi pesa ambazo tunazitoa sasa kwa hii mamlaka mpya zitatumika vizuri. Tunataka sasa watu waanze kufanya ukweli, sio kudanganya wananchi alafu sisi tunaenda kwa hospitali kubwa kubwa za private. Kipengele hicho kingewekwa, watu wangechukulia hii mambo na uzito zaidi. Asante Bwana Spika.
Thank you. Senator Abdul Haji.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I'm standing on a point of order. Pursuant to Standing Order 109, that the mover be now called upon to reply.
Do you have a seconder for that?
Senator Kinyua can second.
Senator Kinyua. Honorable Senators, I propose the question that pursuant to Standing Order 109, the mover be now called upon to reply. I put the question that pursuant to Standing Order 109, the mover be now called upon to reply.
Okay, Madam Speaker, given that I've now been told...
May as many as are of that opinion say aye. Aye. May as many as are of contrary opinion say nay. Nay. The ayes have it.
Okay, Madam Speaker, I know there are those who maybe wanted to say one or two things about it, but we have been, like I've said, Madam Speaker, this is one in a series of 4 related bills which you cannot separate. If you had a chance to speak on primary healthcare bill, you have said most of the things that you want to say about UHC. If you spoke on social health, it's the same. If you spoke on the digital health, Senator Sotsid, and when I was replying previously, I responded to your concern on data and said there's something that you need to appreciate about the data protection bill that we passed in 2019, that it is so elaborate in terms of how it relates with other bills, such as the one we are passing on digital health, to a point that your fears that perhaps maybe that data isn't secure needs to be laid to rest because it's properly protected. So I want to appreciate, Madam Speaker, it has been properly explained to perhaps those who had 1 or 2 issues that they wanted to raise on the issues of staff and personnel, that all staff are eligible to apply. And for sure, if you have worked at an institution and they are creating a new one and you're given an opportunity to apply, why should you be worried? To the best of my knowledge, you will have even undue advantage over those that are just trying to seek employment, unless you are part of the cartels that you are trying to destroy, because everybody in this house knows the challenges that we have at NHIF and what we are trying to resolve. And every Senator Omogeni told us earlier that even in the Azimio manifesto, you had something that was called Baba Care, which involved actually re-engineering of NHIF as presently is. So with those very many remarks, Madam Speaker, I beg to reply. I've left the floor.
I had initially directed that we defer the division on number 13 and 14. And I want to, before we resume for division, I want to request the clerk to call order number 15.
Order number 15, the County Government's Additional Allocations Bill, National Assembly Bills number 23 of 2023, second reading, division.
I will request the Sergeant at Arms to ring division bell for 5 minutes. 5 minutes. Honorable Senators, it's time for division. I will request the sergeant at arms to close the doors and draw the bar. Honorable Senators, let's resume. Please resume your seats. Senator Murango, Senator Nyoto, Senator Kenywa, Senator Tabitha. It's division time. Methu, Senator Methu, you are out of order. Senator Methu. Honorable Senators, I put the question that the Digital Health Bill, National Assembly Bill number 57 of 2023, be now read a second time. Voting will be electronic. I request you to log out, and I direct us, the Sergeant at Arms, to pull out any cards that are remaining in the delegates' units which are not being utilized. At Arms is there to assist you. Sergeant at Arms is behind you to assist you. The following senators, please proceed to the clerk's desk for assistance. Senator Gedhuku, Senator Methu, Senator Osotsi. Where is Senator Osotsi? He's not in. Senator Perry Stobiko, approach the clerk. Senator Perry Stobiko, please approach the clerk. Honorable Senators, these are the results of division in respect to the Digital Health Bill, National Assembly Bill number 57 of 2023. The ayes 32 votes, the nays 0, abstentions 0. The ayes have it. Next.
A bill for an act of parliament to provide for the establishment of the Digital Health Agency, to provide a framework for provision of digital health services, to establish a comprehensive integrated digital health information system, and for connected purposes.
Next. Honorable Senators, we are proceeding to the next bill for division. The Social Health Insurance Bill, National Assembly Bill number 58 of 2023. Honorable Senators, I put the question that the Social Health Insurance Bill, National Assembly Bill number 58 of 2023, be now read a second time. We are voting electronically, and I request you to log out and log back in, ready to vote. Honorable Senators, you may proceed to vote. Please cast your vote. Senator Mweda Gataya, Senator Chesang, can you approach the clerk for assistance? Senator Chesang, can you approach the clerk to be assisted? Honorable Senators, these are the results. Can you resume your seats, Honorable Senators? Resume your seats. Honorable Senators, these are the results of the division in respect of the Social Health Insurance Bill, National Assembly Bill number 58 of 2023. The ayes 32, the nays 0, abstentions 0. The ayes have it. Next.
A bill for an act of parliament to establish the framework for the management of social health insurance, to provide for the establishment of the Social Health Authority, to give effect to Article 43, 1A of the Constitution, and for connected purposes.
Moving to the next division, the County Government's Additional Allocations Bill, National Assembly Bills number 23 of 2023. Honorable Senators, I put the question that the County Government Additional Allocations Bill, National Assembly Bill number 23 of 2023 be now read a second time. We will be voting electronically. Please log out and log back in. Senator Peris Tobiko, can you approach the clerk? Honorable Senators, these are the results of the division in respect of the County Government Additional Allocations Bill, National Assembly Bills number 23 of 2023. The ayes 32, the nays 0, abstentions 0. The ayes have it.
A bill for an act of parliament to provide for the additional allocations to county governments for the 2023-2024 financial year, the responsibilities of national government and county governments pursuant to such allocation and for connected purposes.
Honorable Senators, the Senate had earlier on resolved to extend time until the conclusion of business at orders number 13, 14, and 15, and we have now done so. Therefore, the Senate stands adjourned until tomorrow, Thursday, 12th October 2023 at 2:30 p.m.